Now, one thing you'll notice if you run this again, you'll see something that it's okay, but it could be improved. So if I click, it's blank and then something happens. Now, although it works fine, that's great, but for user interface, it'd be nice to give some sort of indication that something is working in the background, something is loading, and so we should just wait until something happens, right? Same thing happens if I say money, for instance, right? It just goes and shows it was quick, but it's nice sometimes to show that there's an indication that something is happening in the background, so users can wait for a bit. Okay. So how do we do this? Now, there are different ways to do this. The way we have things set up right now in our book search view model here, it won't let us do how we usually do, which means we're not going to wrap this inside of another class where we can, like a resource in this case, right? Where we can then have access to this states and so forth. We can just create a variable here called isLoading. It's going to be a Boolean type, and I'm going to say by mutable state of, say, true to start with, right? And this is loading. I can say, for instance, so at the top here I can say isLoading. That isLoading is equal to true. Set it to true first, and then once we are done with our list here, right? So I'm going to say if list is not empty, then I'm going to say isLoading, set it to false, because we no longer need to be loading. And we're going to do the same thing when if something happens, like it is an error, I'm going to say false, and of course we can also say false there, as well as if there's an exception, just to get rid of that. Okay. Now, if we go to Reader Books, our search screen, I can just play around with something here. I can say, for instance, if, right, view model dot isLoading is true, then I'm going to just say linear progress indicator, like that. Else, then we're good to go. Then I'm just going to take all of this and add it there. Okay, and we no longer need this. This was just for us to play around and see what's going on. Now we're going to get some, hopefully something that will tell users that something is working in the background, so they have some sort of visual aid as to what's happening instead of just a blank screen. Okay, let's see. Oops, looks like I'm having some issues. What did I do wrong? Right, let's go back for book search. Right, so I found it to be problematic whenever we are assigning a value such as this inside of view model scope, if we pass dispatcher. So every time I remove the dispatcher, it seems to work. Let's run again. And you can see there it is. It showed there. I can go back here and click. Okay, so there's that nice animation there. The other thing I can do, instead of calling here, let's put it back what we had before. I can just remove that because we know that in the beginning it's set to true. So we don't really need to add that at this point here, which is what triggers that problem. Okay, let's go ahead and run again. Click, and you can see, voila. Let's see if we search for Android. Again, you can search for whatever you want, and that just went straight and showed the books. Okay, let's see. Okay, very nice. So we're getting all the information that we need.